doing what you say. So a leader has to act authentically. And the second is honesty. Honesty doesn't mean not taking money, not taking bribes. Honesty is the truth that you bring to the work you do. So, and the truth with, if you're a doctor, then the truth with which you treat is what gives healing. If you're a teacher, then the truth with which you teach is what touches and transforms your students. So, honesty plus authenticity is equal to absolute integrity, and an act of absolute integrity has transformational value. It can touch and transform the lives of people around you and situations around you. Now, when you really care, when you genuinely love, when you really care for people that you work for, that care, that love radiates outward. It radiates outward like heat, like light, and it goes out and touches and changes things and people around. So there is one thing about leadership. And the second thing, particularly because Gandhiji is so, I would say, obsessed, and he's so passionate about world peace and how to bring in peace into this world. So the second part of leadership, we have to tell our students that being a leader doesn't necessarily mean that you have to act like the head of the food chain, and gobble everybody up. You are not sitting there to eat people up. We need a style of leadership which focuses on relationships. Leadership is relationships. Leadership is building community. The focus is on relationships, not hierarchy. You seek to convince and not coerce. You seek to build consensus and not authoritarianism. And what you work on is not your positional authority, but your moral authority. And I would like to underline that. No chair. Your chair can get you only to a certain point. You know, people will follow you out of because they have no choice. But when you lead with your moral authority, then people follow you with their heart and their mind and their whole soul. And then we become a leader who can lead with others in mind. And a true leader is one who leads with others in mind. Last 2 points I have to say, and ginke mein bol rahi hu because I also know I'm over, but then I have to say, you know. Last 2 things. One, while we are educating our children, we need to see that we keep them closely connected to their core, to who they really are, to their inner person. Why do I say that? Education, by definition, is normative because it prescribes. It prescribes standards for everything. And education, per force, works on the principle of averages because, you know, you really cannot go by the genius of a child or the weakness of another child. You have to go by the average level of the class. So education actually teaches us to be alike. And to that extent, it distances us from who we really are. Now, God does not work on the principle of averages, thankfully. And so he has made us different. So there is a certain, what I would say, a kind of spark, a unique spark, which is there in each one of us, a unique set of capabilities, of weaknesses, a unique perception that is unique to you. A spark which is in me, but not in you. Now, and that thing is important because there is a certain person that only you can be. There is a certain impact that only you can have on this world. There is a certain comprehension, a certain understanding that is just yours, a certain sensitivity, a certain touch that is only yours. And that, I will say, is the stardust of God sprinkled upon our lives. And we need to stay connected to that divine and unique spark. Now, if you try looking for it in adulthood, you may or may not find it because you have to dig through layers of socialization, layers of theorems and data and rules and whatnot. It is like looking for one solitary pearl in a dark room full of cobwebs. So you may or may not find it. So the idea is, that one of my favorite lines from Alexandre Dumas, how is it the little children are so intelligent and men so stupid? It must be education that does it. And again, that famous quote from Jesslayer, that children are not things to be molded, but people to be unfolded. So we need to keep our children connected to their inner core, just so that they will retain that spark that God gave them, and only then, let me underline that, only then will they be able to go and live out their God-given destiny in this world. Only then can they make meaning out of their life. And they will not succumb to things like depression and anxiety because we are nurturing who they essentially are. So while you teach everyone, please keep an eye out on that spark in each child, and you are the only ones who can nurture that. And lastly, my thankfully last point is that your institution, you have so many institutions CMS has, and all these, institutions are empowering. But then institutions have walls also, boundaries. But while you love your children, while you care for your children, while you teach your children within these walls, also teach them to think beyond these walls. Also teach them to think beyond these borders and boundaries. See, walls are good. Walls are good because they give you a sense of identity. They give you a place where you belong unconditionally. They give you a set of friends. They give the children a comfort, a zone of safety and security. But then walls can also be very limiting at times, because the real breathing, kicking world is out there. And in that world, there is some amount of anxiety, livelihood struggles, some pandemic, pain, poverty, and it's not all bad either. There is a lot of beauty also out there. There's a lot of beauty in the world that God made. There are beautiful people and beautiful stories. Stories of struggle and survival, stories of people who have given up everything they have to work for the needy. And children need to grow up learning these stories. They need to know these stories so that they will be aware and have a viewpoint, and they will grow up to be conscious and committed individuals. And on that, I would want to underline, grow up as conscious and committed individuals. See, knowledge is important, but knowledge mixed with compassion, knowledge mixed with kindness is potent to change the world. So what we want is, when you send your little children out from these institutions, and when they join the crowd, we want them to be able to respond to society, and I can tell you, their response really matters. We really look forward that the children of today will grow up as responsible, sensitive human beings who can respond to the society around them. Because one person can and does make a difference. And you have to teach your children to grow up as conscious and committed people. And parents are with you. It's a joint effort. So finally, I close by saying that, there is this big theory of stewardship. So teachers are stewards. You don't own the children you teach, but you are holding them in trust. You're holding them in trust for the parents as well as for the whole of society. You're holding them in trust for our common future. You're holding them in trust for our greater good of everyone. And so you're doing a great job. On behalf of all parents and the administration, I thank each one of you for the effort that you put in day in and day out, year after year. Very happy to be in your midst. Thank you so much.
अयं वन्दुर्यं नेतिगणारा
लघुचेतसाम्
उदारचरितानं तु वसुधैव कुटुम्बकम्
वसुधैव कुटुम्बकम्
वसुधैव कुटुम्बकम् वसुधैव कुटुम्बकम्
अयं बन्धुरयं
नेतिगणना लघुचेतसाम् उदारचरितानां तु
वसुधैव कुटुम्बकम् वसुधैव कुटुम्बकम्
वसुधैव कुटुम्बकं वसुधैव कुटुम्बकम्
अयं बन्धुरयं नेतिगणना
लघुचेतसाम्
उदारचरितानां तु
वसुधैव कुटुम्बकम् वसुधैव कुटुम्बकम्
अयं बन्धुरयं
नीतिगणना
लघुचेतसाम्
उदारचरितानं तु वसुधैव कुटुम्बकम्
वसुधैव कुटुम्बकम्
वसुधैव कुटुम्बकम् वसुधैव कुटुम्बकम्
वसुधैव कुटुम्बकम् वसुधैव कुटुम्बकम्
pani ma pa re pa ma ga ma re ni ni sa 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 re pa ma ga ma re ni ni sa 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 re pa ma ga ma re ma 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 pa 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 ni ma pa ni सा। जब प्यार के रास्ते चले संसार, जीवन में ज्ञान लाए निखार, मिलकर तब बने एक परिवार, साथ सभी गाए बार बार वसुधैव कुटुम्बकम् वसुधैव कुटुम्बकम्। गान ध्यान और ज्ञान के उत्सव मिलकर आज मनाएंगे, शांति अमन और प्रेम की ज्योत से ज्योत जलाते जाएंगे, सब हमारे और सबके हम मानवता का यश गाएंगे। वसुधैव कुटुम्बकम् वसुधैव कुटुम्बकम्।
So join your hands and join hearts, share your life, forget ifs and buts, sing a song and sing along, let's all hear what you feel about.
One world, one family, one world, one family, it's one world, one family, it's one world, one family. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. Nisa 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 ni ma ga re sa, nisa ni ni za pa da ma ga re, re ma ma pa ni ma pa sa, re ma ma pa ni ma pa sa, re ma ma pa ni ma pa sa।
अपनी जन्नत को खुदा के लिए दोज़ख न बना, अपनी जन्नत को खुदा के लिए दोज़ख न बना, अपनी जन्नत को खुदा के लिए दोज़ख न बना, अपनी जन्नत को खुदा के लिए दोज़ख न बना, अपने माँ बाप का तू दिल न दुखा, दिल न दुखा, अपने माँ बाप का तू दिल न दुखा, दिल न दुखा। मेरे मालिक मेरे आका मेरे मौला ने कहा, मेरे मालिक मेरे आका मेरे मौला ने कहा, अपने माँ बाप का तू दिल न दुखा, दिल न दुखा, अपने माँ बाप का तू दिल न दुखा, दिल न दुखा। बाप के प्यार से अच्छी कोई दौलत क्या है, माँ का आंचल जो सलामत है तो जन्नत क्या है, बाप के प्यार से अच्छी कोई दौलत क्या है, माँ का आंचल जो सलामत है तो जन्नत क्या है। ये है राज़ी तो नबी राज़ी है, राज़ी है खुदा, ये है राज़ी तो नबी राज़ी है, राज़ी है खुदा, अपने माँ बाप का तू दिल न दुखा, दिल न दुखा, अपने माँ बाप का तू दिल न दुखा, दिल न दुखा। उनकी ममता ने बहर हाल संभाला तुझको, किस कदर प्यार से माँ बाप ने पाला तुझको, उनकी ममता ने बहर